Good morning and welcome to another stretch break. Special edition today in the Headquarters Fitness Center. It's definitely very quiet here and it's a lot easier for me to move around. Got a lot more space in my balcony. So if you're at home, take a moment, stand up, and let's run a system scan and see how our body's feeling today. I've been here since before the sunrise, so I'm a little bit limber. As always, you catch me a little bit limber. Start with the wrists. Let's work out the fingers, stretch the hands. Let's turn the elbows, opening and closing the door. And then we'll shake it out. All right, taking our arms out into some gentle arm circles. We'll take them forwards. And we'll take them backwards. After I get my arm circles, working into my shoulder, roll, working into my waist. And working into my underarm a little bit too. Sometimes when I do this, depending on where I'm tight, I might take the elbow up, up. I might even do a backstroke, thumb up, getting more into my chest and my pectoral girdle. All right. Let's take a moment, work into our march in place. And as always, I'm trying to cut down on the feedback from my breath, but I'm going to suggest to you, start working your breath, breathing in through your nose, breathing out the mouth, making it loud. No one can hear you, no one can see you. This is just your time. All right, working some butt kickers. Ooh, pop, pop, snap, crackle, pop. And then my favorite, not everybody's favorite, heel taps. So bringing that heel up, working our outward rotators. Now one thing that I do here very specifically is I bring the foot to me. I don't reach down to the foot. My back stays unchanging. My chest up tall, good posture. All right. Working into our waist a bit more. We'll shake it out left, shake it out right. Working into some classic windmills. Now I expect you to get a lot more out of this because when I used to teach these stretch breaks in the office, I was encumbered by the fact that, some people would come in with dress shoes, heels, a variety of footwear that at home, I don't expect you to be wearing in your living room or wearing in your home office. You might be barefoot, you might be in your socks, or you might be wearing some training shoes like I am. So you should be able to do these exercises a little bit more fluidly without worrying about what you're wearing. If you're wearing a dress shirt on top, you should have some party pants on bottom. All right, working into some gentle rotation. I pivot into it. Now I'm on the slidey floor, so I have to remind myself to actually lift and pivot my foot instead of just sliding around. Coming back to breathing through your stretches. Here's a good sound for you. That's what I want to hear. If you were right in front of me, that's what I would want to hear. That inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, Now, even though I have bigger screen, bigger area, for this particular stretch, I need to be able to see my feet. I was made aware in my last video that you couldn't see my feet when I stepped back into my lunge. So we've been practicing lifting and setting the heel. If you still need to do that to warm up your calf, go for it. Do a few heel lifts and heel drops. Otherwise, I'm going to say drop the heel. Let's move forward in our training. Those of us that have been doing this for months and months and months, I've got my lunge, my calf stretch. I'm going to take left hand to left thigh, reaching right arm to the sky, turning this into a lunge, calf and oblique exercise. Now with this one, I'm reaching length out of my fingertips. See how the body's kind of coming up at an angle. There's a balance component. And I'm breathing. Even I have to breathe. Mr. Talk a lot, I know. I can typically go several sentences without taking a breath, but it usually explodes in one noisy burst, so I'm trying to avoid that. All right, working forward and through. Pressing back on our left heel, finding our balance. If we need to lift and set, we can lift and set. All right, I've got my calf, got my lunge, right hand, right thigh, left arm to the sky, reaching length out of the fingers, and breathing. Now, my earliest people that I worked with this morning were suffering from a little bit of congestion, so breathe however you can. It's very typical that as the day goes on that your nose warms up, it's easier to breathe. So sometimes when you're consuming this content first thing in the morning, I understand you might have the sniffles, you might have a little congestion. It is that time of year. Let's work ourselves forward and through. Working into a back extension. I'm going to bring my shoulders back, tight glutes, tight core, lifting up to the chest. And dropping the chin, rocking the right ear right, left ear left. Okay. Stretching out the left arm, dropping right ear over towards the side, turning the eyes up and to the left. Dropping the left arm, reaching the right arm out to the side. Left ear over towards left shoulder, eyes up and to the right. Now finding your breath. You're going to feel this stretch differently if you press through the heel of the hand versus just pointing the fingers forward. So this is going to stretch out the neck quite a bit differently when I actually extend my wrist. Shaking it out. Now let's take a moment and look out over our left shoulder. Unlocking the knees, looking left, stretching these rotators. through center, looking out over the right. Very good. Now, one of my favorite stretches that doesn't always translate well. I know I have a very mobile spine. Years and years and years and years of yoga allows me to manipulate myself a little bit differently than most tight spines. So for the Romanian, for me, this is a profound stretch. For you, it might be a chore, it might be a bore, you might not get a lot out of it, but as you can tell, I'm flattening out my back. My knees are in a slight bend, my hips are in a hinge, and I'm pushing back, stretching not only my hamstrings, but my vertebrae apart. So those are the bones of your spine. And when we sit, especially if we lean to one side, we're creating little pockets of air in between the backbones, and sometimes you feel a pop, and that's just when the bone is actually realigning itself with the entire column. Nothing to be worried about. We're never trying to whip our body around. We're always trying to move gently, move gracefully, as opposed to violently. And so the last stretch that I'll work on with you today, and then I'll talk a little bit about exercise balls. Some of you probably have those at home, and there's a couple stretches I really enjoy. So rolling my shoulders back, interlacing my shoulder blades together, finding chest expansion. This is an absolute must. I do this every single day, 2 to 3 times at least. Now, I like to add this side to side sway. You might not. That's on you. You might just want to barely get there, and you might not even get there. So we talk about the door jam in just about every other stretch video. So I can hold a door jam, I can be up against a wall, or I can push back on the wall. Now, just like in our next stretch, if I have the wrist extended and the fingers up like this, it's going to be a completely different stretch than if I'm here, here, or here. So practice that on both sides. You'll notice there might be some sort of qualitative difference between the shoulders. That's to be expected. We have a dominant arm. On our dominant arm, we typically carry things, and when we carry things on the same side of our body for our entire life, we kind of loosen some of those tendons and ligaments. And so, paradoxically, we'll be a little bit less flexible. You'd think it'd be looser, right? More flexible? Such is not the case. And so, make sure you get that on both sides. And then, very briefly, I'll discuss the exercise ball. Now, some of you have these. I don't particularly I don't have enough space for these, so I don't particularly have a need to have one. Every time that I was at a fitness center, I'd use this every single week. Every single week I would use these. These are great if you have the space. If you simply don't have the space and it's just clutter, there's no reason to get it. Now, that first exercise I really like to do, sorry for deafening you, is this roll. Now, is it going to always be this loud when I make it in a video? Totally, especially on this floor. The next exercise I like to do with this is just an easier forward fold, forward bend. This ball is taking a lot of the pressure off my spine, and it's making this more accessible. So this is just a simple forward fold. Our legs are going to be wider so that we have balance. I can practice a straddle fold on the ball a lot easier too, a little bit less pressure on the spine. And as you can tell, my knees are bent. I can always stretch them out. Lastly, if I want to stretch the chest, and let's say I'm in the comfort of my own home and I've got carpet, I've got a rug, I can do this chest expansion back bend really safely with less consequence and less visibility. And so I can stretch over the ball right here. I can drop my hips down. As you can tell, I'm in a full deep squat now. This may have never been accessible without the utilization of the ball. Tongue tie, oh. And then I could practice a deeper chest expansion, back bend, and then the deepest would be a full wheel pose. And so, when I escape, I like to escape safely. I might just sit on the floor now. Things such as they are, I'm just gonna push on up. Now, I would never teach someone to just push on up if they don't have the knee and calf flexibility for that exercise. So check it out. If you have one of these balls, these are really easy to buy. They're super easy to find, whereas, you know, finding a good set of weights is pretty challenging right now. One of the most difficult parts of this year was just acquiring equipment. I know, no big deal. And so, if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Leave a comment in the comments section. As always, take care of yourself. Until next time, see you soon.